Now module 30. See, in our module 30, its topic is about Comptroller and Auditor General. Now this body, this Comptroller and Auditor General, this institution is a very important institution. First of all, try to understand that it's a constitutional body, because in the constitution itself, this CAG is mentioned under Article 148 to 151 deals with Comptroller and Auditor General. Let's try to understand that we are a parliament, means we as a country is following parliamentary form of government. The most important thing about parliamentary form of government is that executive is accountable to parliament, or the parliament can control executive. The most important parliamentary control over executive is through financial control. One of the example of financial control is that for any expenditure for the union executive, it requires the approval of parliament. Similarly, to exercise this function of financial control over administration or over the executive, parliament require an independent audit agency, which is outside the, or which is independent of the control of the union executive, which can assist the parliament in performing its function of having effective control over administration. For that purpose, Constitution have created a very important institution, what is called as Comptroller and Auditor General. So this already the CAG was there during the British period. The Government of India Act, have created Government of India Act 1935 have created a body called as Auditor General. So earlier the CAG was called as Auditor General with this Government of India Act 1935. As the term suggests, okay, the Auditor General, normally Auditor General perform auditing functions. They audit the accounts of the union and the state. That is a major function of how they audit. They will look into the accounts, they will look into the receipts and expenditure, and will see that whether all the expenditure have been utilized by the union and the state as per the law. As per the law means whether the legislative sanction or legislative approval is given for the particular expenditure. If it is not, it will report to the respective executive to a report will be presented. For in the case of state legislature, it will present a report to the governor, and the governor will place before the state legislature. In the case of union executive, the report will be given to the president. The president will place in front of the union parliament. Okay, so we will see that. Okay, now regarding the CAG, regarding his appointment, be very clear. That's from the prelims point of view, these things are very important. Who appoints the Comptroller and Auditor General? How when he resign, to whom he give his resignation? Like that, you need to be very clear with it. So regarding CAG is appointed by the president. That's be very clear. CAG is appointed by the president, and if he want to resign, he can give the resignation letter to the president. Okay, so his appointment is very important. Now regarding, in order to make this office, in order to make the CAG office independent, two important, see, for any constitutional body, any important office, to make them independent, two important criteria is very important required. One is regarding the removal. The removal should be difficult. It should not be that removal of a very important constitutional functionary should not be given to the executive. So there will be a protection in relation to the removal. It will be difficult to remove a very important constitutional functionary like CAG. So that has to be guaranteed for all the important constitutional functionary. Second is regarding their expenses, regarding the salaries, regarding their pension, regarding administrative expenses. These expenses should not be voted by the parliament. It should be charged expenditure. It should be, their expenditure should be charged, means it should not, there is no need for the parliament to vote for the for their expenses. So these two things are, it should be charged expenditure. The expenditure has to be charged expenditure, and the removal, it should be made, it should be properly mentioned, and it should not be easy to remove a particular constitutional functionary. In the case of CAG, be very clear that the CAG's expenses, their salary, their pension, their allowances, everything is charged expenditure. So it has ensured their independence or autonomy of CAG. Second is regarding the removal of Comptroller and Auditor General. It's very important regarding the removal of Auditor and Comptroller and Auditor General. The CAG can be removed in the same manner as that of the Judge of the Supreme Court. CAG can be removed in the same manner as that of the Judge of the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court judge can be removed if there is a proved misbehavior or incapacity, proved misbehavior or incapacity, and that too the Parliament through a special, both the houses have to pass. So we have discussed that regarding how the Supreme Court judge can be removed. So removal of the CAG has to be in the form of how a Supreme Court judge can be removed. So these two have ensured that CAG will be independent and the executive can't control or exercise over the functioning of CAG. Then regarding his condition of service, be very clear that its constitution itself clearly says that CAG is not eligible for any office under the union or the state. CAG is very important. CAG when he retire, the CAG when he retire is not eligible for any office under the union or the state. So regarding this provision, it's very important, be very clear. The last CAG, Vinod Rai, is presently the chairman of Bank Board Bureau. So don't get confused. The CAG have hold this position. So that Bank Board Bureau is not considered as an office. It's not considered as an office which is mentioned in the constitution. Okay. So Bank Board Bureau, which I'll be discussing under economy, which will be dealt later. But this point is very clear. The constitution itself has cleared that CAG is not eligible for any office under the union or the state. Now regarding their tenure, okay, once appointed by the president, CAG will be having a tenure of 65 years. He can continue till 65 years or 6 years. He have a tenure of 6 years or till he attain the age of 65 years. This is his regarding his tenure. Now regarding the duties and powers of CAG, be very clear that that's very important. Okay, what are the duties and powers of CAG? See, duties and powers of CAG is not directly mentioned in the constitution. What the constitution says that the Parliament by law can enact a law to describe the duties, powers and duty and condition of service of CAG. So Parliament by this constitutional provision have enacted a law, what is called as Comptroller and Auditor General duties, Comptroller and Auditor General duties, powers and conditions of Service Act 1971. So this law have explained what are the duties of CAG, how is their condition of service and what is their power. Now regarding the duties of CAG, be very clear, it's given in our material, okay, in page number 2. Regarding the duties are the major duty of or the major functions of CAG is that as the auditor, the CAG have to audit, and report all the expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India. The CAG have to audit and report all expenditure from Consolidated Fund of India and Consolidated Fund of all states. and consolidated fund of union territory which is having legislative assembly, that is Delhi and Puducherry. Then similarly the CAG can audit and report all expenditure from the contingency fund and public accounts. So be very, all the three fund which is mentioned in the constitution, consolidated fund, contingency fund and public account, can be audited and the report can be submitted by the CAG. Okay. Now regarding the, it also can audit and report. It can also audit and report. It can audit and report all trading, manufacturing, profit and loss account of all the respective departments. So that's the third important function. It can audit and report of all trading, manufacturing, profit and loss accounts kept by the department of the union or the state. So every respective state and union department, if they are manufacturing, if they are trading, their profit and loss account can be audited. So the trading, manufacturing, profit and loss account can be audited and reported by CAG. That's a very important function. Then regarding the auditing, to audit the receipts, it also have the power to audit the receipts. Be very clear, it can audit the receipts and expenditure. It can audit the receipts and expenditure of the union and of each state. It can audit the receipt, what all receipts the union get, what all receipts the state get, what all expenditure they make by the union and the state can be audited by the CAG. Similarly, any organization which is substantially financed, by the government, all government companies, corporations which have set up by a law, if they says that the CAG have the power to audit the corporations, all can be audited and report can be given on their receipts and expenditure to the respective head of the state. So these are the functions, it's given in the page 2. So be very clear, it can audit and report all expenditure from the consolidated fund and consolidated fund of India and consolidated fund of state. It can audit and report all expenditure from the contingency fund and public account. It can audit and report on all trading, manufacturing, profit and loss account of every department of the union and the state. It can audit the receipts and expenditure of the union and all states. Similarly, if there is any government company, means any organization which is substantially financed by the government, government companies and corporations which enacted, the corporation are enacted by a law which says that if the CAG can audit, all can be audited and the report can be submitted by the CAG. Okay. Now regarding this 1971 Act, this very important point I am telling, questions have been asked from this function. Regarding the 1971 Act, be very clear that this Act, so earlier the CAG used to not only audit the receipts and expenditure of the union, it also need to compile the accounts. It need to compile the accounts of the union and of the state. So this was a legacy of British. But in 1976, the function of compiling the accounts of the union in 1976. So this act was amended in 1976, where it says that regarding the compiling the accounts of the union, will be separated from the CAG, and respective states, if they want, they can enact a law to separate this function from the CAG to any other body. Now regarding this function, now the compiling the accounts of the union is now performed by a separate body, what is called as CGA, Controller General of Accounts, Controller General of Accounts. But regarding the compiling the accounts of the state, still that function, till now that function is performed by the state, by the CAG itself. Be very clear, compiling the accounts of the union is now vested with a different body called as Controller General of Accounts, but regarding the compiling the accounts of the state, it is performed by the CAG itself. So this is very important regarding the changes made in 1976. Now the last very important point regarding this definition of Controller and Auditor General. Be very clear regarding the Controller and Auditor General. Even though we call our the name, the nomenclature is Controller and Auditor General, actually our CAG is not a controller but only an auditor only. Okay, be very clear that auditor, what is the function of auditor? Auditor can audit the accounts and also the expenditure, especially all of the union and as well as the states. But what is the function of a controller? Controller can have control. Controller have the control over the receipts and issue of public money. This is the meaning of controller. It means that what all receipts the government get is kept with the controller, and any money if it to be withdrawn, it required the permission of controller. So the executive or the department can't withdraw money at their will. It requires the permission from the controller. It need to show that this parliament or the legislature have given approval to withdraw this money from the exchequer. So this function, this is the function of controller. Controller have control over the receipts and the issue of public money. But this function is not performed by our CAG. So our CAG, even though our CAG name is called as Controller and Auditor General, it only performs the function of Auditor General. Regarding the control over the receipts and issue of public money, it's not vested with our CAG. This function is vested with in UK. In UK, there is a Controller and Auditor General. In United Kingdom, Controller and Auditor General perform this function. So in UK, Controller, the CAG perform the function of Controller and also the Auditor. So in UK, if the executive want to withdraw any money, it require the sanction from the Controller. So it need to show that the legislature have approved this expenditure. So this is a very important point. Already UPSC have asked 2 questions. In both the question, this point was there. So be very clear with it. Okay. So this is what you need to then go and read the material. This is what is required from your prelims point of view regarding CAG. It's a very important constitutional body. Be very clear regarding the autonomy, how constitution have given them autonomy regarding the removal process. It is CAG is removed in the same manner as that of the judge of the Supreme Court. Regarding their expenditure, it is charged expenditure. Regarding the CAG tenure, it is 66 years or 65 years of age. Who appoints the CAG? It is the president. Okay. And when he want to resign, to whom he gives the resignation letter? It is to the president only. Then regarding the functions or duties of the CAG, and also the exact meaning what actually our CAG perform, whether he is a controller or auditor. Our CAG is only a auditor only. So if you are clear with these concepts, any question related to CAG comes, you can answer it. Okay. Now we will see the question. So there were 2 questions. In 2012 there was a question, and in 2001 there was a question. The first question on 2012 question, see it, in India, other than ensuring that public funds are used efficiently and for intended purpose, what is the importance of the office of CAG? So in India, what is the importance of CAG? Read the first statement. CAG exercise exchequer control on behalf of the parliament when the President of India declares national emergency or financial emergency. be very clear, CAG does not exercise any exchequer control, whether it is on normal times or during emergency time. So that statement is wrong. We have not discussed, it is not mentioned in the constitution. It's a wrong statement. If you know that first statement is wrong, it's a 4-statement question. What you can do? You can eliminate choice A, you can eliminate choice D. Now see the answer. Either choice has to be B or C. So in that 4th statement is not there. So by knowing first is wrong, you get to know that 4th statement is also wrong. You read the 4th statement. While dealing with the audit and accounting of government companies, CAG has certain judicial powers for prosecuting those who violate the law. CAG don't have any judicial power. So without knowing the 4th statement, you know that by knowing the first statement is wrong, you know that we eliminated 4th statement also. Now there is only 2 and 3. So by the choice itself, you know that second statement in both B and C, there is 2 is there. So second statement is correct. You have to find out whether third statement is correct or not. What is the second statement? CAG reports on the execution of projects or programs by the ministries are CAG reports. Yes, the CAG report is given to the president. President submit this report to the parliament. So the report CAG kept is discussed by the Public Accounts Committee of the Parliament, which we will be discussing later on. So without knowing this statement also, we got the answer by using elimination method. So that's a correct statement. CAG reports on the execution of projects or programs by the ministries are CAG reports are discussed by the Public Accounts Committee. That's a correct statement. Regarding the third statement, information from CAG reports. So information from CAG reports can be used by investigative agencies to press charges against those who have violated the law while managing public finances. See, actually this statement is a current affairs statement. You might have heard that this 2G scam during UPA government, this is a 2012 question. The scam, 2G scam and all those things, the investigate agency, that is CBI, have taken this case by taking into consideration the CAG report. CAG have reported a massive loss to the exchequer in crores, in thousands or lakhs crore. So that was a very important current issue at that time. So that has prompted the investigative agency to take up this matter. So this statement is correct. So answer is 2 and 3. Now see the second question. Read the question carefully. It's a ABCD question and it's a not question. It is asking which of the following is not performed by the CAG. So it means that 3 of the choices is the function performed. They have to find out which of the function is not performed by CAG. Regarding the first choice A, to audit and report on all expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India. We know that that statement is correct. It has the power. To audit and report on all expenditure from the contingency fund and public account. That is also correct. To audit and report on all trading, manufacturing, profit and loss accounts regarding the department. That is also correct. To control the receipt and issue of public money and to ensure that the public revenue is lodged in the exchequer. This statement is wrong. Why? This is the function of a comptroller, and this comptroller function is not given to the CAG, Indian CAG. It's only, this function is performed by the UK Comptroller and Auditor General. So this is the wrong statement. Choice D is wrong. Okay. So just please go and read the material. You will have an idea. It's a very important topic. You can expect a question from CAG. Thank you.